Hi, everyone. It's Tuesday, and we've been talking about story elements. Yesterday, we focused on what characters are in a story and just how it relates to realistic fiction. Today, you were supposed to have listened to the story Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And we're going to talk about that story in just a few minutes after we kind of talk about what it means when you are referring to the setting of a story. Setting is the time and location in which a story takes place. What is the setting at the beginning of The Little Mermaid? So, if we remember back, it says the setting at the beginning of the story is under the sea. Now, again, The Little Mermaid is not realistic fiction, but it does have a pretty clear setting. And when we talk about realistic fiction, again, it's the setting is not just where the story takes place, but also when. Does it take place in the past, the present time, or the future? It also could be maybe a specific year or a season or time period. That all has to do with the setting of the story. It says that this time and location in which a story takes place, that's the setting. So again, does the story take place in the past, present, or future? Time can be a season and a year, possibly an event in history, something that relates to the time and place. Now, in The Little Mermaid, it was written in first published in 1837. We know that story takes place in the past. Sometimes you have to use clues from this story to determine the time setting. So, for example, if I'm reading a story about a little girl who maybe lives out on a farm and dresses in long dresses and bonnets, then I might assume that story takes place in the past, maybe on a farm. So we have to sometimes use what we know about the story to determine what the setting is. And we have to use clues. The author doesn't always come out and tell us what the setting might be. So now we're going to read each little summary, and we're going to decide together if this story summary is set in the past, the present, or the future. So the first example says, the characters encounter an alien who claims to have traveled from a faraway galaxy. Take a minute and see if you can determine what that time frame would be. If you said future, that's correct. Again, those clues help us to determine that. The second example says the main character is an activist who believes all Americans should be granted the right to vote, including women. If you said the past, you're correct, because we now know that women can vote, but a long time ago they could not. So if we were reading a story and that was what somebody was trying to fight for, then we know that it takes place in the past. Keep in mind that the setting can change throughout the story. So, for example, when you listen to Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, that story begins at Alexander's house when he is at home with his family and getting ready for his day and school. And as the story continues, the setting changes. See if you can pause this video and think about all of the different settings that are in this story. So if you think, again, when Alexander's at home, that's at the beginning, but then he travels to school. He has some problems at school, And then after that, he goes to some different places with his mom. He goes to the dentist, so there's an important setting, and then to the shoe store, and then to go pick up the father at work, and then back home. So again, the setting changes throughout the story that you listen to today. Now, yesterday we talked about characters. So, we just reviewed setting, but let's think about the characters in the story Alexander that you just listened to. Obviously, the main character is Alexander himself, but we have a lot of other characters who make their way into the story. All of his family members, his brothers and his mother and father, the lady who drove the carpool, the dentist, the shoe store worker. So this book is filled with lots of different people. They are realistic, but they're not considered main characters because they don't have as an important role in the story as Alexander does. So there's a little summary of our story that you listened to and how it relates to our characters and our setting.